Yes, you read that title right. At this point, Fortnite is essentially an anime crossover. They got Naruto, Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, and Jujutsu Kaisen skins in-game. And as funny as it is to see Goku hit a clip on Deku then hit the gritty, the skins can range from pretty damn good to questionable. On the other hand, we have Jump Force, which is a dedicated anime arena crossover fighting game, which is universally disliked. So I thought it would be fun to see if Fortnite can beat Jump Force at its own game. I'll be comparing these games in 3 different categories and awarding each game 1 point for every category won. And at the end, the game with the most points will be crowned as the better anime crossover game. We'll go over visuals. How good do the Fortnite skins look in comparison to the Jump Force character models? Gameplay. Which game can really make you feel like Goku? And finally, character representation. Which game does a better job at choosing the characters to represent their included series? Without further ado, let's see if Fortnite is a better anime crossover game than Jump Force. To try and get the most accurate comparison possible, we're going to start by comparing the characters that are present in both games, then taking a quick look at the exclusive characters to see if there are any details to note. Now, both of these games have their own fair share of controversies when it comes to the character models, but the main thing to take away is that both of them look uncanny in their own special way. Let's compare each game's Naruto characters first to see what I mean. Fortnite's first anime crossover was with Naruto, where they originally only had Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi skins, but in a later update, they also added Hinata, Gaara, Orochimaru, and Itachi. Comparing Fortnite's Naruto to Jump Force's Naruto instantly reveals the fundamental difference in art style. While Fortnite goes for an animated art style that reflects the source material, Jump Force goes for a realistic and edgy art style. Both of these styles fall in line with what each game is going for. Fortnite is supposed to be cartoony and animated to set itself apart from other battle royales, whereas Jump Force is realistic and edgy because, the reason it's realistic is because it's supposed to be set in the real world, but a lot of people theorize that it's just like that to cater to the West, because apparently we only like dark and edgy stuff here. I mean, hey, Nintendo did the same thing with the Kirby game covers. When looking at Fortnite's Naruto, if you start at the bottom and work your way up, you'll go, oh, this looks pretty solid. I mean, the proportions are a little off, his legs seem a little too skinny, his shoulders are a little bit too broad, but not bad. Jesus Christ! The heads on these Fortnite skins are easily their weakest point. There's basically something wrong with each of these skins' heads. Naruto's head is too big and tall, Sasuke's hair is shaped weirdly, Sakura's head is too thin and her hair is too flat, and finally, Kakashi's actually pretty good, unless you switch to his alternate Anbu design, then his head is too thin and small. I mean, just look at that neck. If you separate his head from his body, then they look like they belong to 2 different models. I'm assuming this disproportionality comes from the fact that they reused the base Kakashi model, but removed the jacket, which covered up the fact that his neck was incredibly skinny. Now, if we look at the second set of Naruto skins, then you can actually see some improvement. The proportions are handled much better this time around. There's still some unflattering angles, of course, but you're going to notice this pattern as we look at some other skins. Fortnite knows how to improve. Let's move on to Jump Force's Naruto characters. The base roster consists of Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, Boruto, Gaara, and Kaguya, with Madara as a DLC character. Already, the proportions look better here, but at the same time, he doesn't really look like Naruto. It looks more like a guy cosplaying as Naruto. That's something I can say about most of these Jump Force skins. They don't look like the source material, which goes against the entire point of the game, which is to celebrate the history of manga. These also have a similar problem to Fortnite, wherein their heads don't match their bodies. Their bodies look realistic, but when they slap these anime eyes onto them, it just throws off the entire design. The next anime to get added to Fortnite is also in Jump Force, that being Dragon Ball, and they follow the same pattern that Naruto did to a T. The first wave of Dragon Ball skins featured Goku, Vegeta, Beerus, and Bulma. Goku and Vegeta have all the same problems as the first Naruto skins. There are a couple of proportional issues when it comes to the body, but for the most part they look good. However, when you get to their heads, they just look off. Very off. Goku's head is too big, and his facial expressions are just weird. Especially with his alternate looks, his eyes become way too thin. Vegeta's head is also too big, but he also has basically no neck. Finally, Bulma and Beerus look pretty solid, nothing to really criticize here. When we look at the next wave of Dragon Ball skins, Gohan, Piccolo, Goku Black, Frieza, and Cell, they all look really good. Of course they're not perfect, but they're definitely a step up over the first wave. Especially comparing Goku Black to Goku, Goku Black looks way better. Now let's look at Jump Force's Dragon Ball characters characters. Jump Force features Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, Piccolo, Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu as DLC. What do you know? The same problems with Naruto arise here. The proportions look better than in Fortnite, but it still doesn't look right. The face doesn't match the realistic looking body at all, and ignoring the face just looks like a guy trying to cosplay as Goku. The same sentiment is found in Vegeta and Trunks. The non-human characters like Piccolo, Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu look better because they don't look like humans, but they still look uncanny in this realistic looking art style. For the final comparison, we have the My Hero Academia characters, and they have the same exact problems as Naruto and Dragon Ball. The first wave of My Hero Academia characters, Deku, Bakugo, Uraraka, and All Might, look fine when you ignore their heads, but if you look at their heads then they look really off. While the second wave of MHA skins, Todoroki, Kirishima, and Ashido, look way better and don't have nearly as many problems. Looking at Jump Force's My Hero Academia characters is the same as the Naruto and Dragon Ball characters. There's Deku, and then All Might, Bakugo, and Todoroki as DLC. Their bodies look alright, but their heads are off again. However, there is one more point I want to bring up. They look really cheap, especially All Might. He looks as if he's made out of plastic, and that's something that Fortnite did that Jump Force didn't. Improve. Fortnite's second wave of anime skins for each series looks better than the first, and by the time that they got to their two newest anime collabs, Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen, they'd gone to the point where they could nail it on the first try. But with Jump Force, its DLC characters either look equally as bad or even worse than the base game characters. Of course, they couldn't fix the fundamental issue of trying to force anime characters into a realistic art style, but that also doesn't mean that they have to look worse and cheaper like in All Might's case. While both games suffer from their own issues, and both games look like knockoff, off-brand models at times, there's still a clear winner, that being Fortnite. Despite having a rocky start, they prove that they can improve and make an accurate looking anime skin. Whereas Jump Force went fundamentally wrong by trying to make a realistic and edgy anime game. Of course, you may prefer that aesthetic, but it's not celebrating anime like the game set out to do. It's just pandering, and for that, Fortnite wins this first category. Gameplay is going to be an interesting category because these games are so fundamentally different. One of them is an actual anime fighting game, whereas the other is a third-person shooter with anime characters in it. So to make this fair, we're going to see which game really makes you feel like an anime character by comparing Jump Force's gameplay to Fortnite's limited time events. For each anime crossover, Fortnite added a handful of limited time items. Naruto had Paper Bomb Kunai, Dragon Ball had the Kamehameha and the Nimbus Cloud, My Hero Academia had Deku's Smash and Todoroki's Ice Wall, Attack on Titan had ODM Gear and Thunder Spears, and finally, Jujutsu Kaisen had Hollow Purple and Straw Doll Technique. Most of these were fun additions, but suffered some balancing issues, such as Deku's Smash and the Kamehameha being completely overpowered. A couple of them were also kind of underwhelming, such as Naruto's Kunai, which is basically just a regular explosive. And there were some innovative items too, like the ODM Gear. Fortnite's anime items are really a mixed bag. While most of them make you really feel powerful, that's not always a good thing because it leads to a broken and unbalanced experience. How does Jump Force fare? Jump Force's gameplay relies heavily on fan service, but ultimately falls flat. Every character plays very similarly, having essentially the same basic attacks across every single character. The special attacks are a little more unique, and some of those, plus the ultimate attacks, can get pretty cinematic. But with this game, you never really feel the weight behind the attacks. Yes, you do send your opponent flying across the map like how an anime would, but the presentation behind it is so lame. Compare Jump Force to Dragon Ball FighterZ. In FighterZ, you really feel the weight of each attack, and when you land a cinematic finish, it looks incredible. But none of that spectacle is in Jump Force. Instead of looking epic, it just looks lazy. While this category is much more difficult to compare than the visuals, I'm still gonna have to give it to Fortnite. While most of the anime attacks are completely broken and unbalanced, that kind of just adds to the charm. You really feel like Goku when firing off a Kamehameha because it's so broken and overpowered. And while it is annoying sometimes to get hit with, it's still pretty funny. But even some of the other items that aren't overpowered are still pretty fun to mess around with, like the ODM gear. But that level of power and fun just isn't found in Jump Force. In that game, it feels stale and half-hearted, and the charm wears off after a couple of rounds. For this category, we're going to take a look at the characters chosen for each represented series and see which game does a better job at representing said series. To do that, we're going to compare the series that appear in both games, those being Naruto, Dragon Ball, and My Hero Academia. So let's start with Naruto. In Fortnite, there are 8 Naruto characters, versus Jump Force's 7, including Boruto. Fortnite's selections here make a lot of sense. The first wave was simply Team 7, whereas the second wave included villains Orochimaru and Itachi, as well as Gaara and Hinata. They covered their bases. They had the 4 main characters, as well as some villains and some fan favorites, whereas Jump Force, on the other hand, made some weird choices. So we have Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi, but no Sakura. We also have Gaara, Kaguya, and Madara, but no Sakura. I get wanting to include the big final villain Kaguya, but no one really likes Kaguya. And if they wanted to include another female character, then it should have just been Sakura. I know it's a big joke to hate on her, but she represents the series much better than Kaguya. And Boruto is fine, I guess. Like with Kaguya, not many people like Boruto, but I think his inclusion at least makes some sense here, because he is essentially from another series. Next we have Dragon Ball, with Fortnite having 9 characters, and Jump Force with 7. The main differences between these rosters is that Fortnite has Bulma, Gohan, and Goku Black, but Jump Force has Trunks and Majin Buu. To be honest, I don't really know much about Dragon Ball, so I had to consult my friend who has actually watched Dragon Ball, so if you don't like this assessment, then it's not my fault, okay? He said that Fortnite has a better character selection because Gohan and Bulma better represent the series than Trunks and Majin Buu. The final series that both games feature is My Hero Academia, with Fortnite having 7 characters and Jump Force having 4. All 4 of the characters that Jump Force has are also in Fortnite, so it's kind of an unfair comparison. But to be fair, when Fortnite's first wave of My Hero Academia skins came out, it was Deku, Bakugo, and All Might versus Jump Force, who had Deku, Bakugo, All Might, and Todoroki. And honestly, I think both games made the right call here. While Uraraka is an important character to the series, Todoroki is more of a fan favorite and can translate better into a fighting game. And in Fortnite's case, representing the main 4 characters as well as getting a female rep made more sense because they don't have to worry about moveset potential. And on top of that, Todoroki got added to the game later on anyways, so while it is unfair to compare these two, I still think each game made the right decision for themselves. My only issue would be the lack of villains. Jump Force probably didn't have space for it, but Shigaraki over Todoroki could have been possible, but I still think Todoroki is an okay pick. However, Fortnite definitely could have included Shigaraki over Ashido or Kirishima. I know I said to compare the series that they both have in common, but I want to come to a definitive winner, so let's take a quick look at a couple of other series in each game. For Attack on Titan, Fortnite chose Eren, Mikasa, and Levi. I would have liked to see more characters, but if they were truly limited to only 3, then these make the most sense. And the final series in Fortnite is Jujutsu Kaisen with Yuji, Gojo, Megumi, and Nobara. Again, if they were limited to only 4 characters, then I also would have chosen these 4. Just to quickly touch on some other series in Jump Force, there were a couple of odd exclusions and inclusions. For example, Hunter x Hunter got 2 DLC characters, Bisky and Meruem, and yet never added the 4th main character, Leorio. And when you look at the overall roster, there's a severe lack of female characters, even though there are plenty that could have been added, like Nami from One Piece, who isn't in the game despite there being 7 One Piece characters. Well, this was the closest category so far. I'm gonna have to give it to Fortnite. They had a better variety of characters that covered the most important main characters, while also sprinkling in some villains and some fan favorites. Whereas Jump Force had too many weird exclusions and inclusions that really dragged it down. And with that, we have a clear winner as Fortnite wins 3-0, officially asserting itself as a better anime crossover game than Jump Force. This was mainly due to the fact that Fortnite tried harder to stay faithful to the source material via its art style and character selection, which is ironic because Jump Force is supposed to be a celebration for Shonen Jump's anniversary. But at the end of the day, this is of course just all subjective in my own opinion. If you like Fortnite more than Jump Force, that's great. If you like Jump Force more than Fortnite, that's also cool. I just figured this would be a fun comparison. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.